strolling across to our last match of the day, and it's going to be Staz versus Patra. And again, we see maybe a slight difference of opinion of just Staz rocking Hunter again. And Hunter seems to keep getting the job done, but it's Hunter, it's Hunter, Quest Paladin, Druid, and Warrior that we've seen from him, and it's the same line we've seen from him pretty much last weekend as well. Whereas Patra is going to go for the Zoo, which, again, the more I see Zoo, I think the more I like it as a submission, at least for this week.
Yeah, Patra's got what I think is fair to call the standard APAC lineup with the 3 main decks in obviously Warrior, Druid, and Shaman with Quest and Control reverse respectively. And the Warlock as well, that feels like it slots in very nicely because it's got a very good matchup against Druid. Against the Shaman, I'm honestly not quite so sure how it lines up. I get the suspicion that it's good enough.
Yes.
Pretty good, because even though we've seen that the Lackey generation from Shaman can do a very good job of locking down the board early on, I feel like when you compare Zoo to Murloc Paladin, the Zoo gets on board so much more effectively, so much more consistently, and so much more stickily. It's difficult to remove these boards when there's eggs knocking about, Grim Rally to buff everything up, and I think the damage comes through quickly enough to the point where the Shaman generally will struggle to remove it in time before it's dead.
Yeah, Zoo more often than not just plays singularly good cards that are good in a vacuum, whereas the Murloc Paladin definitely does not.
Yeah.
But yeah, interestingly enough, although you say Patra has like the APAC lineup, so to speak, just funny because of all the players we talked about, Alutimu and Glory having, say, European styles, I think Patra has probably the most practice partners that aren't from her region.
That's
as
fair.
well, because I believe, at least historically from what I've seen on streams, tweeted out, so on, is that Patra plays a lot with players like Zile and some of the Americas players.
The Omnistone guys.
Yeah, exactly, and that means that there's a definitely heavy Americas influence, I think, and you can see that as well just with the submission, I think, from early weeks, just playing Quest Shaman.
Yeah.
Because Zile is Quest Shaman's biggest fan. He thinks it's the best deck that's ever been made. And I don't think it's that good. I definitely think it's strong, but I think maybe it's too much credit to this deck given. So we'll see how it pans out. I think the lineups are pretty close as well, but I'm just not sure how this. I'm not sure how this Quest Paladin fits in. Is my query with this lineup, or how the lineups clash.
Really?
How it fits
in this particular
versus
matchup.
Patra.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what I fully expect to see is apparently we just got word waiting for Patra to get set up here. I think Staz will go with the similar strategy he's gone for of banning the Zoo from Patra, because his strategy has very much been he will protect either the Warrior he's generally gone for, or sometimes the Paladin, and then ban away an aggro deck, which I imagine we would have seen had Patra not shielded her own Warlock beforehand, in which case Staz goes with the ban on the second most aggressive deck, I suppose you could call it, in the Battlecry Quest Charm, although it's definitely not an aggro deck, after shielding his Warrior, because he's thinking Warrior, good against the Warlock, of course, and then Paladin has a fantastic matchup against everything other than the Zoo.
Yeah, very, very interesting here. I'm a little bit confused.
Okay.
I guess it doesn't matter too much because you can only ban one, but Patra banned Druid out whilst playing Warlock, and I don't know why.
That's true.
Because I think, if anything, Warrior or even maybe Hunter, for me, would have been a better ban, or something I would have done. I'm not saying I am right, but it feels like the Druid banned Staz's Druid out when Warlock is 100% playable does feel a bit wonky. Maybe that's just a nod to, if Patra is left with Warlock, Druid, Warrior, then maybe she doesn't want to play against that. I don't know. It feels strange to me. I don't really understand.
I think it comes back to the decision, the conclusion that I imagine Asia-Pacific players will have come to, which is that Warrior is unfavored versus the Druid, which I think is the general consensus that players are coming to as well, but it's been much more apparent in Asia-Pacific, where consistently Warriors have been losing to Druids, whereas across the other regions, it feels like Druids have been losing to Warriors, especially in Europe. I've seen a lot of the Warriors coming ahead, which comes down to the fact that generally in Asia-Pacific, the Druid lists seem to be a lot greedier. We're looking at lists with Cenarius and Nomi and the Elise in there as well. King Feoris, like the full-on top package of the deck is often put in. But I agree, I am left constantly interested, I suppose is the way to put it, as to the pick and ban phase from these players.
Yeah, I think these players have definitely got their own slant on it as well. And again, just apologies, but this is not a control warrior, it's a bomb warrior. Okay, although it does have the taunt package, so it's kind of 50-50 in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's bomb warrior, but it runs like, you know, double frightened flunky, it runs Armagadillo, it runs 2 Tomb Wardens. So it doesn't have some of the regular one drops or the consistency of early game, but it also runs double execute. I think just a big nod to Priest. More than anything, this early game plus executes are normally pretty good versus Priest in general, but also not too terrible versus Druid.
Yeah.
I think this is a matchup that I would fancy my chances if I was Staz's warrior against, say, you know, the average Druid that we can see across the board.
I think that Staz is actually really onto something with this build of Bomb Warrior. I just don't think it's hit the final iteration quite yet, because as we can see, he's got a list that runs the Taunt package and the Bomb package. It removes shield slams, shield blocks in order to make room for that. It's not running Plague of Wrath, it's not running the Super Collider as well. But I think what I would like to see from him is more condensed in an aggressive approach to the matchup. I would like to see 1 Brawl instead of 2 Brawls. And I would like to see an extra Town Crier to go for a more aggressive game plan, because I think his deck is getting closer to a good build of Bomb Warrior, where it's focused on a much more mid-range aggressive approach than a removal-focused approach. But I think he could go even further with that. I think he should distill his deck down to its essence, which is just aggressive mid-range push.
Well, let's get into game number 1. Patra on the top on the Zoo, and then Staz on the bottom on the Bomb Warrior. And let's see how it shakes out here, because this could be a little bit dicey as well, because with the Turning Rover, like we just said, Staz isn't running many 1-drops. The fact he has a Turning Rover on 1 is magnificent for him.
Yeah. Warrior, this is a fun statistic actually, Warrior has literally never missed a 1-drop on 1, ever. Literally never.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
that lines up with my experience of Warrior, actually.
Exactly.
So yeah,
I have no evidence to the contrary.
And now, does Patra want to just play a Voidwalker to get farm? I don't know, maybe. I think Coin Nephset Thrasher looks good no matter which way you
definitely
slice it, though.
Yeah, the Coin Nephset Thrasher is definitely something I would like to move towards.
So Juggler into expected bop into Voidwalker Sinister Deal Lackey?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay, I would not have done this. I'm interested to see how it plays out now, though, because it's a play that makes sense. Like I said, I just logicked it out.
Yeah.
But it's a play that I feel is negating the fact that you could have coined out a Thrasher, which is a 4/5 on turn 2.
I definitely agree. I think the reason that Patra didn't want to go for Voidwalker on 1 is obviously in part Frightened Flunky, which if that were to come down on 2 would have been kind of bad, I suppose.
Could have just passed, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, or just played the Sinister Deal wouldn't have even been that terrible. True. Pretty poor selection of lackeys, though. These are generally considered the worst 3.
Especially with the awkwardness of Goblin Lackey looks okay when you're like, the Juggler can trade into the 1/3. But if the Juggle hits the 1/3, and then that just gets annoying, and Patra would 1, Goblin Lackey, Juggler kills the 1/3, the Juggle goes into the Town Crier, and then the 1/1 trades with the Town Crier, or, Town Crier trades with it.
And interestingly enough, I think that is the Lackey I was considering the least, which just shows, again, we've got such different opinions to Patra in the matchup, because I was looking at you value trade the Town Crier, and then upgrade it with a Witchy Lackey, making a 3-drop there.
Oh, interesting.
I wouldn't have hated that.
Now that you say it, you might have swayed me, but I think I would have done this play just to kill off the Eternium. Like,
why is that so important though?
Because armor's stressful.
I don't care about armor. I don't care about armor. I care about board control for Patra much more than I care about armor, denying armor game. And I think that either the Witchy Lackey to upgrade to a 3-drop, or the Titanic Lackey, which would have got it up to a 2/3 here, which would have kept it alive.
Okay, how much are you considering Snip Snap in this choice? Because that is a massive punishment.
It is
you probably just lose the game.
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely. Which is a reason to go for Patra's play. She, in this instance, her play was the best, I think. On average, I'm not sure if I necessarily agree, which is what I would have to,
right,
you're trying to do.
That's where you
trying
get
to make the best play.
No, so I was just going to play that Clockwork Goblin. 3/3 against a 1/1 looks pretty fine to me.
Yeah.
And more so the fact that this probably doesn't die, and also lines up very well
you say it probably doesn't die. It's coming in on turn 4, which is...
No, the goblin.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, because of the snip snap lines up very well into almost anything Patra plays this turn.
I apologize. Was filling in the blanks myself. The Nephazet Thrasher, I think, very often does die here. 2 out of 3 times at least, it dies to a Restless Mummy, because obviously Staz has 2 Restless Mummies, 1 Ziliax in the deck. He's played a Town Crier. He was likely to have found one here. Unfortunately for him, he didn't.
I guess the problem is, if Patra doesn't play this Thrasher, then the turn's so weak.
Oh, she 100% plays it.
You have to play it. It just feels bad, right?
It does, and this is part of the reason why I think you and I can both agree we wanted to see it coined out on 2, because then the answers are significantly more limited to kill it off on the turn it's played.
And you at least get to whack him in the face once with it. You know, maybe it's like, at least he's done some damage. But very tough game for Patra already here. And this, it honestly is so frustrating to play Zoo against an opening like this, because the opening is as good, if not better, than your Zoo opening, but they get to play Bomb Warrior.
This was
way
better than Patra's opening.
But even if you nudge this opening down a little bit from Staz, just 1 drops into 3 drops with Flunky exists, weapons exist. Like they get like the same opening as you, apart from they get to run Bomb Warrior and you're running Zoo. This is unfair.
I mean, this is for Staz. It's fair to say a huge high roll, drawing both of his 1-drops when he only runs 2 of them in his deck.
Yeah, 1 of each.
One of each, the Snip Snap, Clockwork Goblin, Wrench Caliber, Devastator, Ziliax, Elec. These are all good cards in the matchup. He hasn't drawn a single bad card yet.
Yeah. I wouldn't even say drawn a single mediocre card.
Yes, he's drawn all the best cards.
Because
outside of
basically
Restless Mummy is the only good card he's missed.
Yeah, basically Staz has every situation covered. So you might think, oh, Elec's a bad draw. He doesn't play it for like 4 turns. Yeah. And it's like, right. But only because of what Patra's played. There was a point where Elec could be a good curve play, tempo play this next turn. Whereas obviously Staz is drawing cards that are literally unplayable, which is the top third-ish of his deck. Things look a little bit different.
Patra in a weird position where she obviously wants there to be as many minions on board as possible in order to activate these Sea Giants. But I think Staz can do a pretty good job here of clearing up everything, be it Ziliax or I think more likely Wrench Caliber on this turn. It could be a full board clear.
Yeah, I think that looks better because you don't really want to do the Ziliax play if you're leaving a minion on board.
I agree.
So, and just lock.
Well, you could do unmagnetized Ziliax, right?
Oh,
take
yeah, but
that's why I mean.
Yeah,
I would rather see the Wrench Caliber.
Yeah, this looks nice, and we are quickly striding towards a point of no return here because I'm not sure what hands can be done or pulled together to win this game for Patra. Not what we can see Staz.
The Warpath as well is just such a fantastic
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
there's Ziliax, there's Warpath, there's just minions like the Elec. There's a weapon already equipped.
Yeah.
Staz is on 28 health. If Staz was on 20 health, 18 health-ish, then I'd be like, okay, maybe there's a good Vulture turn, there's an Egg turn, and there's a Grim Rally, and suddenly there's some damage knocking about.
I think if Patra was going to get there, this is starting to be the hand that she needs to get there. Egg is sticky. The Faceless Lackey is a very good way to go wide on the board because this entire game plan for her hinges on both Sea Giants being played and there being no brawl.
Yeah,
that's
and
her win
getting
condition.
an attack.
Yes, exactly. Which honestly I think is within the realms of possibility, 100%. I don't think it's likely, but I think it's possible.
Do you think that was Egg instead?
Instead of tap.
And then
not
go
necessarily.
like,
I think
1 drop pair that makes 2, reduce by 2, tap next turn.
I don't think it was necessarily that much better, right? Like, what does the Egg do on that turn necessarily that it wouldn't do on the next turn? Like, I think Patra's going to have plenty of mana available, so I like the tapping.
It would... Oh, I guess it wouldn't. Never mind. I was going to say like Dynamatic, but the weapon would swing into it and then Dynamatic comes down anyway. It makes it worse. So yeah, yes.
Minions sticking on the board. This is starting to look good for Patra. Something may be happening here. There is obviously a brawl that was picked up for Staz as well, which makes it a little bit less likely that it will work out for Patra, but, you know, it's possible.
Also, maybe frustratingly, Patra cannot play any minions and the Sea Giant this turn.
Yes.
She literally needed to draw any 1 drops to make this turn way better. Maybe it ends up being good for her that she can just play a plain Sea Giant this turn. Because there's no...
Not brawl worthy.
The minions don't kill it straight, the minion weapon. So it's only 7 damage. So it needs to be something else.
Yeah. And if a brawl is forced out here, that's maybe the kind of situation where Patra can go for another board. She's still got a decent hand. Egg, Evil Genius, Lackeys, Nephicet. And then just throw down another Sea Giant and there's no answer.
I'm going to make you think I'm crazy.
Please do.
Warpath attached Ciliax.
Oh, no, I like that.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Oh, yeah,
I didn't know whether you were too upset about a Warpath dealing 1 damage on the whole board.
You kidding me? I want to make a 7/7.
Yeah. I think that's insane.
I think that's absolutely the play.
You kind of, yes, you don't get as much heal. Yes, you only use 1 version of Warpath when you could, potentially clear any zoo board late game. Who cares? You get a 7/7 taunt.
I'll tell you who cares. Patra. She cares very much about being hit here with a 7/7 every turn, or a 7/6, I suppose. Because it's just impossible to develop into.
Yeah, and the selling point really for me is the flunky, the Yellic, the brawl. It's like there's more where that came from, right, for Staz.
Yeah.
So it's not like this is an all-in defense from Staz at all.
I think that was a Solarian pickup. Yeah, for Patra, which is one of the crucial cards. Whenever you need to make a comeback, that's how it can start to come together.
I think it happens next turn.
I agree.
Right?
I agree. But
like
it's good to have.
Egg into Evil Genius might just have to happen.
Powerful cards being found. Powerful cards. Do you reckon it's Egg this turn and then Evil Genius next turn? How important is it to get the 3/4 activated right now?
So many.
I don't know. I think it's tough either way.
Yeah.
My problem is the longer you wait to present threatening damage, the longer Staz has to just drop more cards, and it just gets worse. Like, honestly, Staz can just play his minions and go face.
Oh, 100%. He can definitely develop onto the board. There was some consideration, I suppose, for not developing because you want to make your opponent have a better brawl. But I personally think that going with the right flunk here is a good way to start.
I'd play all my minions and just go full face. I'd even swing the weapon face and just assert dominance.
That might be slightly overkill.
No. Just get into lethal quicker, don't it?
Oh, do you like the look of Witchwood Grizzly here? That's a 3/8, sorry.
I think 2 Wardens is better, isn't it?
Really? You can play that this turn.
Yeah, you can just drop an Alec and swing faces. It's 2 bombs, Derek.
You're obsessed.
Well, the thing is, what's the
Got a
follow-up?
problem.
The problem is, if you play Grizzly this turn, you've got a mediocre turn next turn. Like, what about if you just Warden next turn? Like, it's insane.
Yeah,
Like, how are you
yeah,
losing
fair
the
enough.
game? Like 2 3/6s? Oh.
What now?
I don't know. I quite like... Yeah, I guess because your other big minion has taunt.
Right, yeah. I mean, look at this
you
board,
can't
right?
protect it.
And if this is all cleared up, you just go 2 blood.
Well, I think if the minion didn't have taunt, sorry, if the Omega Devastator didn't have taunt, you'd absolutely play the Grizzly because it protects it. But because it doesn't, you
Right.
yeah. This makes sense, I suppose. Just more mana, like.
One thing that Patra has going is the fact that Staz is not high on hand
So
size.
many.
Yeah, and it's not clearing the board very well at all, so she can go in with a big Sea Giant. This could be her big push to try and get the board back in her favor decisively.
The first, maybe does Patra play Egg? Makes it what 4? Evil Genius makes 3 spends. What about Egg, Evil Genius, Lackey Sea Giant? That's doable, right?
Sure.
And you leave 1 egg on the board as an egg in case of an
I like
AoE.
that. Yeah, I like that.
I think, and that's plenty of mana, right? 2 goes to 3, 1 goes to that's plenty.
You got to do it quick. Just play stuff. Just play stuff.
Yeah, this is already worrying me.
Yeah.
Because the stuff I would want to do requires Lackey analysis.
Wow, okay, this is
Double
even
egg.
more defensive against Brawl. The question then that arises, though, is does this demand a Brawl now?
Yeah, the minions just died to... They just killed the giant anyway. Right?
Yeah, there's a clear on board.
Or even, like... Oh, this is insane, actually.
How so?
So, realistically, Can Staz just like swing the weapon into this 4-3 and go face? Or what if Staz just doesn't clear anything? Leaves it.
Okay, that's an interesting
He's got
proposal.
tons of health, he's got tons of minions, he's got tons of damage. Every time Patra swings his Nephset, it's killing her faster.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
There's an execute and a brawl. Like, I don't know. However jokey I sound, I would genuinely just go face. Oh, if Staz plays Elic and just dumps more bombs into the deck, I am Staz's best friend.
Well, he can fit in the execute though, right? So we can see a swing of the weapon into the 4-3
execute
and then...
it and leave the Nephset.
Okay, if he wants to leave the Nephset, then yeah, this is...
Well,
it damages.
It does more damage,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
okay.
yeah, I love this. So it's so sick.
Yeah, I never actually considered this enough. Just leaving Nephset alive is just really good.
He's not even close to dead, is he? Right?
Just healing up every single turn.
And this is like, this is bombs. Patra kind of needs to tap. The Nephset's going to do more damage. Nephset just can't attack soon. Like this is nice play from Staz actually. I like
Nephset
it.
brings her down to 3 health. She's just dead. I agree. This is not the line that I necessarily would have taken as Staz, and I think it's very good recognition from him.
I foresaw the future. I told you it's all about face damage.
Well, this is how he built the deck, I suppose, as well, isn't it? It's a build of the deck that is much more focused on a mid-game aggression, and that's become apparent.
Yeah, play stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. It's insane to think. Yes, Staz had an amazing opening, of course.
Yeah.
But Staz has early game, but he's playing Warrior with Boom in it. Like if you just say that as a blanket statement, that is just on the surface an insanely powerful deck, right?
Yeah.
So many possibilities.
And the other downside, I suppose, of Staz's deck, which we're also seeing come into play, is his lack of card draw, which is very, very apparent.
Definitely. And
not running shield block.
If you remember, like a week or so ago, I said, I was playing Bomb Warrior with some of the taunt minions.
Yeah.
The only problem is to make cuts, you don't have as much card draw, and that can be an issue. But who cares about card draw when you win with the cards you're given anyway in the game? So Staz goes 1-0 up, and that looked rough. It's a dominating performance by that Warrior deck, and I think, again, similar to some of the evolution we've seen in Druid, we're also seeing a lot in Warrior, Shax's approach, and then we see Rivius's approach.
Yeah.
Now we see Staz's approach. Like, this is shaking it up, and if I'm going to cast some Warrior games, I'll cast Asia Pacific Warrior games because I like them way more than some of the other regions.
Me too.
Compared to what they've been bringing. But that was just game number 1. We're going to go for our usual post-game 1 break. We'll be right back with game number 2.
What's up, Hearthstone fans? Welcome back to another season of The Curve, where we draw the biggest headlines from this past weekend on Curve. I'm your host, Simon Sottle-Welch. Let's do this. Of the 3 Grandmasters that have qualified for BlizzCon, only 2 of them have a win. That's a combined record of 2-10 to start off the season. PNC was the first to win a series on Saturday, and Surrender also won once on Sunday. But Fenomeno remains winless. Hopefully, our BlizzCon representatives can pick it up in the next weeks after this slow start. On the flip side, it seems that all the Grandmasters that have won a past World Championship are coming back strong in the second season. Tom 60229 and Hunter Ace are undefeated in their divisions, while Pavel also sits on top of his. Firebat is the only past champion that is not quite sitting in first place, but he is still playing very well. He gave a very convincing performance against Muzzy, which may or may not have cost someone a mustache. As stated previously, Hunter Ace is undefeated. He's won all his matches and has only lost 1 game in the course of 2 weeks. After bringing the innovative Bwonsamdi Priest this past weekend, he's shown us why he's the current reigning Hearthstone champion. Not only has Hunter Ace been doing well in Grandmasters, he also finished the last ladder season at number 1. Some people think he won't lose a single match this season, and it's looking like these people might be right. Ex-caster, Masters Tour extraordinaire, and newcomer to the Grandmaster scene, Gallon, got his first pair of Ws this weekend as he beat Purple and Strifecrow in some very exciting matches. Gallon was able to take some calculated risks that paid off in the Strifecrow series to beat his Priest twice. If you can't watch the whole series, I suggest watching the interview at the end of the match to hear Gallon's thought process through some of the difficult decisions he had to make in those games. In this week's Meta Moment, we want to highlight the Priest deck that has been brought by several Grandmasters this weekend. After being the highest win rate deck overall at the recent Masters Tour event in Seoul, Combo Priest has continued to be a force through the early stages of Grandmasters Season 2. While Divine Spirit and Inner Fire has always been a go-to combo for Priest for several expansions, Saviors of Uldum introduced two incredibly powerful tools to help Priest consistently build sticky board states, Psychopomp and High Priest Armet. Armet in particular was used to incredible effect by Hunter Ace to dig himself out of a rough-looking situation in his World Championship rematch against Viper. Despite being targeted by the most recent wave of nerfs, many players are starting to realize that Combo Priest is still going to be a force in Grandmasters going forward. If you missed any of the Grandmasters action, you can check out the VODs on our YouTube page, youtube.com/Hearthstone Esports. Grandmasters resumes this weekend. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. That's it for us. We'll see you in the tavern.
The last game of the day here as we move on through the series between Staz and Patra. And a lot on the line here as this could lead Staz into having a really nice sort of 3-week opening to Grandmasters, or it could help Patra recover from a very rocky opening to Grandmasters. So what we're quickly learning, not just in Asia Pacific but across all regions, is that these players are really feeling the pressure in this tournament right now, because last season, yes, there were no relegations, they were all guaranteed to come back for Season 2. Not the case for this season. The person or people who finish at bottom of each division will be knocked out and will be replaced with players who have qualified within that region anyway. So a lot on the line, and although we're still early in the 7-week period before playoffs, every single match, every single game matters to these players to quite the degree, actually.
It really does. We've seen many of the pro Grandmasters tweeting out that they are suffering pretty severely in every loss they take. Some of them saying it's affecting their mental health purely because of the impact that this has. The looming spectre, I think Sotter was calling it, or the grim spectre of relegation is ever looming over these players. And so as you're getting closer and closer towards relegation and just being eliminated from what is effectively the peak of competitive Hearthstone for this year, it is definitely making some of the players play worse who are unable to handle that stress, which is not an easy thing to do.
It is not. Let's go into game number 2 though. Patra on the top on the Zoo. Last chance in this series to get a win for Staz. On the Hunter on the bottom, and this is, I think, a very close matchup. The Secrets can play havoc with Zoo, and also, cards, Unleash, Animal Companion cards as old as time, being decent against Zoo. But some of the new Zoo tools, Disease Vulture there, is actually very difficult for Hunter to deal with on average, because not only is it a pretty high health minion, it's also just generating awkward health minions that Hunter does not normally have the luxury of cleaning up nicely.
Interesting start here for Patra. Holding on to the Voidwalker is not necessarily something I hate anymore, because one of the things I've realized with playing this deck more is, despite how high the amount of one cost cards in the deck is, the amount of good 1-mana minions to play on turn 1 is actually surprisingly low. It's Crystallizer, Mekaru, Voidwalker, and then of course Flame Imp, with Flame Imp being the only one that I would say is better than Voidwalker. So I really don't begrudge Patra keeping that Voidwalker here.
And here we go, question time. Coin 3 drop or Zephyrus?
So Zephyrus here can obviously get you against Zoo, which is always what you're looking for. 0 mana sacrificial path to kill off a demon, which is, I think, what Staz wants to set up as often as possible. But he wants to get that on the best possible demon, which I think is not necessarily just a 1/3.
Agreed. It's also a little bit like, you can't hold on for that for too long, because the best demon is normally the 5/5 that is created from a lackey. But your opponent, that's can be a bit awkward to pull off. You have to draw the minion, you have to have a lackey on board, and then have the mana to make that turn work. So I think using Zephyrus as a tempo tool and using it when you can is actually pretty valuable in this matchup and versus Zoo in general. Obviously, coin into Snip Snap with Animal Comp with Unleash, very, very powerful options. So I don't mind coining into 3 with so many different 3-drops available. But Staz definitely should use this Zephyrus as and when possible, in my opinion.
I agree, 100%. You don't save it in this matchup to, you know, let your opponent get ahead on board and then get Brawl.
Yeah,
or
exactly. AoE'd. It's like, well, how about you don't let them have that?
Yes, you just pull ahead right at the start is generally, I find, the way to go.
Oh. This, though, this hand for Patra is looking pretty good. Although I wouldn't have done it this way.
Yeah.
I think I would have played the egg this turn.
I get what she's going for, but I was wondering if she would try and take out the value trades on the Snip Snap, because we could have seen buff up the rat and then trade in, the Snip Snap could take it out, and then play in, sorry, buff up the rat to trade into the Snip Snap, the Void Walker can take out one of the 1/1s and then just play the egg. Would I think not have been that bad. But
now,
this does get her an early explosion of board pressure.
Now, though, Zephyrus, my friend,
Yeah.
do the job.
It's pretty nuts here, right?
Whoa!
It's off curve.
Who cares?
But
look at this turn, it sucks!
it always offers sack pack there, right? And then you get a value trade as well.
I am almost certainly sure it does.
Yeah.
But you, like, this gives Patra, like, initiative. This is what scares me the most.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
really didn't like that play.
whoa. There could have just been a 2-2 on the board versus your 2-1 that death rattles into a 2-1-1s.
Especially because even if you were afraid of Vulture coming down there, say, and sticking on the board, Deadly Shot and Mark Shot, both of which would have been able to 100%
you hard
take
counter
it out.
You hard counter Vulture next turn, yeah.
And now, Staz is just falling behind. It's still an annoying board for Patra, I suppose. But it's not that bad. Looking at the construction of her deck, she has effectively 0 burst damage with no Leroy or Soulfires. So the face plan is something she has to be very hesitant before committing to. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a double trade, I suppose, into the Leok.
See, I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about, do you actually trade the Void Walker and another minion?
Well, this
Because
way
now
the
the
Snip Snap can't trade in, whereas if you'd gone with the Void Walker trade, Snip Snap could trade in.
Yeah, that's true. I guess I was thinking about Unleash. Cleans up
right.
tons of this board, whereas Unleash would be
It's
a
true.
little bit more weird if you traded the other way.
Fair, I suppose.
Maybe it all just works out the same in the end anyway.
So what is Zephyrus going to offer here? Like, nothing that good, right? It's probably not worth Zephyrus here. Especially if you're not going to do it last turn for a sack pack. Like, Arcane Explosion is what you're looking at now.
I think Unleash.
Like that. Yeah, yeah.
Unleash, leave your opponent with a 3-4, and you have 2 1-1s.
I think Zephyrus is not quite good enough here to go for it, considering obviously how good it can be at certain points.
And the weird part for me is, oh look, you left the board up, Patra's gone wider, and you Unleash off curve when you could have Zephyrus off curved. Wow, and Staz isn't going for it.
Quickly.
As usual, Derek.
I guess that's the reason why.
Yeah, as usual, Staz continues to blow my mind with Hunter plays.
It's true, actually.
Like, me and Staz literally never agree on
It's
Hunter.
true, actually. I disagree with Staz a lot.
And don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
he's in Grandmasters, and I am not.
Got through to the... Playing Hunter pretty much exclusively
Yeah,
with Specialist. Last season got through to the playoffs as well. He's doing Summit right.
Patra's pushing a lot of damage, and this Sea Giant, although looks a little bit stranded at the moment, Hunter normally plays minions, which means Sea Giant against Hunter is normally a pretty steady pick.
Yeah. Oh man, that combo of Unleash plus Revenge of the Wild is going to be so good for Staz in the next few turns.
I mean, it's a lot of mana though.
It is.
I wonder how wide Staz is even expecting Patra to go. Only, you know, low card count. I guess the Vulture goes wide for her, which helps. The Vulture makes pretty high health minions. So.
Yeah, yeah. I'm curious to know what Patra's thought process was as to the trade there, because she's clearly got something in mind as to why it's worth trading in. There's so much to consider, right, when you're running Zephyrus. I suppose Ziliax actually is a big one. On turn 5, Ziliax could have traded into the Vulture if he'd left up. If she'd left up the 1/1. So I guess that's a good reason to trade. For Staz here, I honestly wouldn't be that surprised to see Zephyrus into Shadow Word Pain to take out the Vulture. But I know it's, considering how good Zephyrus can be in this matchup, it's not an especially high ceiling.
What do you think about trade Deadly Shot? And just go deep.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I don't know if I like it that much though. There's no demons in place, so Zephyrus can't give Sacrificial Pact.
We're just gonna go for it now. Venge the Wild cleans up most of this.
Sure. Yeah, I guess, you know, holding on to this combo or Zephyrus, I think it's actually debatable which is better. But given this point in the match, I guess it's actually pretty unlikely that Patra's going to go wider than this again.
Right, yeah, that's what I mean, yeah. So I think using it now is fine.
So I guess that Zephyrus is just better on average from here on in. So, yeah, I agree with Staz, so I think him the right decision.
I guess Faceless Lucky
Yep.
pushes Patra closer to a Sea Giant.
That's it. That's all she cares about.
Oh, not a bad one either. You know what? Not half bad at all. Also, let's bear in mind, although Staz looks like he's defending exceptionally well, Patra has pushed him down to 14 health, and Patra still has the board, and Staz definitely does not.
Staz has multiple possibilities, though, on this turn. I'm looking at Zephyrus, Sack Pact, and Houndmaster Shore allows for a clear up of everything bar 1.
What about just Bow, trade the 1/1s in, and just Deadly Shot?
I'm definitely letting Cast Division get to me here, but I wonder if it's worth holding on to the Deadly Shot. I guess Zephyrus can kill off the Sea Giant anyway if it manages to come down later on. I just like getting the Houndmaster Shore in play because that is a must-kill minion for the Zoo, or they just lose board forever. Like, imagine that. There's only a 2/3 in play against a Houndmaster Shore.
I guess, and then you can follow with High Main next turn if need be. Interesting, yeah, maybe that's good. It's just, I feel like Staz has really held on to this Zephyrus, and I think he's going to continue
something. Yeah, he wants something in particular.
Yeah, he needs to decide that. See, again, like, this feels like one of the weaker options. I don't like, Staz just continues to just make me go crazy, and again, I'll just reiterate, I am not saying Staz's plays are particularly bad, it's just not what I would do. And Staz obviously a very proficient Hunter player, but these are just plays I never thought he'd make with the options available to him. Because again, the scary part is the second you get close to dying and there's a Zephyrus in your hand, you think, what, I played that ages ago? You know.
Yeah. And I think Staz, you know, flirting with a low life total is not necessarily something that's wrong, because again, there is literally no burst damage in the deck for Patra. But now is the time for power plays. He's got to do something to wrestle himself out of this state.
The problem is, like, oh, is this really the play?
Trading King Crush.
Oh, but you take...
Man, that feels terrible.
You take 2 minimum, and then the follow-up, like...
I think, like, Staz is very close to locking down the board.
Okay, so...
Surely?
Does Staz have to save Zephyrus for healing now? Because otherwise, isn't just Zephyrus BGH kind of better?
Yes.
You know,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because that gives you 3 minions on board, not a 2/4.
You'll find me whatever the action is.
I mean, honestly, I've disagreed with like every turn.
Yeah,
Staz has
I
played
could
so
go
far.
all day.
Yeah.
Because it'd just be a BGH, and then you have Brand next turn for trading off any other big minion, except the King Crush lives. Unless it's exactly giant.
Imagine if a Lackey had been found here. A 5/5 would be difficult to deal with. Again, I guess he has the Sack Pact off the Zephyrus to kill it off. But I feel like this board could have been locked down much quicker.
I guess we're just going to see double 3 drops.
Yeah. I agree. It's
Does
not great,
Patra...
Possibility.
Wait, I'm going crazy. The Thrasher's not a demon, right?
No.
Yeah, so, okay.
It's like a statue.
For a split second, I was like, does Patra not play that to not get Sack Packed? You know what I mean?
Right,
but it's not a demon, so of course
Yeah.
you play it. There was just a split second there where I was like, that's not a demon.
It looks kind of
right?
demonic.
Yeah. I think you have to play the 3/3. There's no waiting.
So many.
I'm not sure what she's setting up for. Well, sorry, I do know she's setting up for drawing a lackey and then getting a 5/5. I would much rather have a 3/3 on board now, 100%. Even if you knew that the top card of your deck was Evil Genius, I'd still consider just playing it that way. So now, we have, at minimum, there must be a way to clear the board here, right?
I mean, he can...
Without taking damage, sorry.
He can trade Zephyrus Explosive Shot.
Sure, there you go, that's a board clear. That's Zephyrus used.
The problem is it's just not healing now, is it? And there's no Zul'jin in hand, which means that's not a great turn, basically.
But again, Patra has to get bored if she wants to deliver lethal. There's no two ways around it.
But it's not super difficult, whereas a lot of Staz's plays are very slow.
I think it starts to become very difficult for Patra. As soon as Houndmaster Shore is stuck on the board, which I think should have happened 2 turns ago.
Is he just tanking the damage? Is he going to hit and then deadly shot and just say, well, Patra can't get me 5?
Apparently.
What if just like lackeys are discovered though, and then spells or
Soulfire
Kobold
coming up,
or
yeah.
you know, like
Maybe.
one Solarium, and this game could be over.
I
We've
suppose
finally seen the
there are outs
we've seen
for
the
Patra.
Your wish is my suggestion.
Finally Zephyrus for Alex Straza. Does it offer Alex Straza here?
the heal.
Well, yeah, Alex Straza is a heal, right? And it's a 9-drop.
True.
That would have been the best card, I think, but Healing Touch is fine.
Would it? I don't know. I think Healing Touch is better than Alex Strauser. In general, in this point, you heal to almost 15, and you have mana to do other things.
To develop not an 8/8.
Is Shaw better than an 8? Maybe.
No. I mean, I guess in this scenario, it's close. It doesn't really matter. It's healing. But I think the sentiment that we're both trying to get across is that Staz could have got himself in a position where he didn't need to go for Zephyrus for healing.
Try this time.
It's kind of a whiff.
Yeah, I mean,
got
Unleash
plenty of
the
stuff to
Beast
do.
and Healing Touch, I think, is pretty close to a lock.
Can you ever get away with not playing Unleash the Beast and using getting Houndmaster down this turn so it's just there?
Maybe. How crazy is it? How crazy is it that Staz has drawn not a single secret or secret synergy card in this game?
That's actually, and still not lost.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty crazy. Yeah? I mean, to be fair, he's had Zephyrus and Prat.
He had a pretty nutty curve, like, yeah. Which, you know, he kept in the mulligan, of course. Unleashed the Hounds and Animal Companion are both very, very strong at the start.
And then got Revenge as well, which definitely
Yes,
helped
which was insane.
bridge the gap.
I'm liking what I'm seeing. Clearing off the board.
Sound like the start to a very bad song.
I think it's like the start to a great song.
You write it and let me know. Oh!
Okay, here we go. Juggler's pretty
Oh,
good here.
you know
Evil
what?
Genius
You know
is
what?
good.
Sign me up.
These are pretty good cards.
Although,
The
funnily
Diseased
enough, I
Vulture is
think-
kind of sad.
Yeah, you miss Vulture, right?
Yeah.
But Vulture's too little too late. That's
Sure.
kind of just a pass card anyway, because you never want to keep taking damage.
This is a Mekaru Evil Genius turn.
I was confused for a second there. There's 2 juggles as well.
I mean, this is just to stay alive at this point, pretty much. Those are pretty good.
Or
Those
is it-
are pretty good. Yep, Kobold Lackey
Does
first.
Patra stay alive by
Poor.
killing Staz?
Does Patra actually win this back? She's got board control definitively.
Yeah, and there's no Unleash. Zul'jin off the top, let's go.
Sandbinder gets Siamat, which is obviously unplayable for the mana cost.
Oh!
Ziliax is big. But I feel like this is way too close for where the game should be.
Hunter's pack into Explosive Trap plays Iliax, let's go. I mean, you're laughing, but...
Yeah, I am laughing, you're correct.
Or does he Ziliax Sandbinder
For
to
Siamat?
Siamat next turn? But I feel like just Siamat Divine Shield Taunt is not as...
Pretty weak.
It doesn't feel sturdy enough.
Yeah, I agree, for 7 mana. Because it means you can't play Shore on the same turn.
But okay, so Ziliax kills the Juggler. And it goes up to 12.
Okay.
Ziliax then gets traded into by 1 minion, so it goes up to 15.
Yes.
Then Patra has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5
5
damage, so it goes down
damage
to 10. Plus X draw plus life tap.
Right. Well, I mean, if Grim Rally comes down, that's when we're...
Yeah, that's what I'm
We're
saying. Like,
cooking.
so they'll in a basic level of things, there's
Yeah.
10 damage that Patra has to push.
Moves quickly.
Gonna be sure. I like this. The Shore opens up like so many options
Yeah.
next turn. Like
Shaw is board control on a stick. Or on a horse.
Precision. Perfection.
Who doesn't like a card with doggos in it?
Not me.
Flame him. I didn't even see what that was.
Oh!
Alright. Sign me up.
But that doesn't allow Patra to kill off the Shore. Which is like light years apart from being able to kill it off. The evil recruiter just dies
I
to
don't.
Jaime.
I don't think Patra wants to kill the Shore.
What?
Because any world
Really?
in which she kills Shore, she's doing no damage, and if she didn't, and
Yeah,
she
yeah,
loses
yeah.
all her minions.
But
right?
Jaime just comes down. Decimates the
Good.
board. It rushes in, kills off the 5/5, and
Gets
2/2s
2/2. Yeah,
have
I
rush.
think Patra would rather this be a 4/4 than a 5/5 or a
Yes,
4/5.
I think so
guess.
too. Yeah, I think so too.
Just anything to not kill the high main.
Yeah.
But I think this is correct though. I don't think Patra can kill off the Shore because she.
Well,
traded-
obviously, if she can't, she goes face.
yeah, but I just mean, even if she could, she'd lose the whole board.
Fair
which
enough.
means like, well,
You just got to hope he
then
doesn't have
Staz
it.
just plays high main anyway,
Yeah.
and then it's a problem. So.
And now with Staz having drawn on all his minions and spells, the secrets start to come through with Snipe off the top. Definitely not what he was looking for.
There's still some damage left.
Yeah.
I guess Staz plays Sandbinder? Because it's another minion that can enter.
Another Russia.
I will show you.
Yeah, okay.
And then, if the Shore lives, Siamak can have 3 keywords. Rush, Divine Shield, and Wind Fury. Oh.
Yeah, I guess this is probably just too much for Patra to pull back from. Clearing off 3 of these minions.
It was. I feel like it might have been closer than it needed to be then.
I feel like it was way close than it needed to be. Way too close.
This is where you start running Deathwing in Zoo.
Yeah, there we go.
And that is going to be it. Staz goes up to a 4-2 score in Grandmasters Season 2 so far. And then Patra does drop a match. And that's going to, again, put just another layer of pressure on Patra. I think she was very relieved at winning a match last week, which rightly so. And if there was another win this week, which there's still time, because I think Patra's playing tomorrow, right? She's only played
Yes,
once
I
so far.
believe so.
So there's still time. But if Patra, I feel like, almost needs to win tomorrow to continue to feel not terrible. I think I was going to say safe then, but that's just not true. You wouldn't feel safe at that point. But to feel like safer to just dodge relegation as opposed to anything else. And we're looking very closely to Blitzchung's results.
And I suppose, as macabre as it seems, her saving grace is the fact that Blitzchung is doing equally as poor.
Right, that's what I mean. So we
As
just keep
she
it down
is.
Blitzchung, and
Yeah.
you know, I'm sure everyone's friends in Grandmasters, but you still hope someone else loses, not you.
You never want to come last.
Exactly. I believe we do have Staz standing by now, so we'll just check. You can hear us, Staz?
Yes.
Okay, so first off, again, congratulations, starting the season off
Yeah.
to a pretty good score. I just want to ask you, mainly just on that last game then, because we had a few questions on it, was
Yeah, sure.
did you consider the Zephyrus earlier on to just kill the buffed Voidwalker and do some value trades? Because it would have offered you Sacrificial Pact. And if not, what was the reason for holding Zephyrus for as long as you did? Because we feel you had a lot of good opportunities to get a good Zephyrus out earlier in the game.
Oh yeah, actually I did. It didn't cross my mind that I can get sacrificial pact.
There
So
we go.
yeah.
That makes
if I
more
knew,
sense.
I would have done it.
Okay.
Oh, okay,
That
cool.
makes sense.
And what do you think of Zoo in general? Because that matchup, I think, because of the later Zephyrus, looked a bit closer than it needed to be. But what do you think of just Hunter versus Zoo? Because Zoo is becoming more and more popular in the meta now.
I think Hunter is a bit unfavored. That's why I put in explosive trap for this week, just to deal with the Zoo. And I think it's still a good matchup for the Hunter, but Zoo is a bit favored, I think. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, Zoo's pretty strong, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. But I want to ask you if you're comfortable with talking about it a little bit about how your time management comes in outside of Grandmasters, because I know I was talking to Gia about this, and you seem quite busy at the moment with preparing for Southeast Asian Games. I believe you recently became a father as well, which means you've clearly got a lot going on in your life. Congratulations, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
We want to know how you are dividing your time and what is the secret to your success so far.
Actually, it was my wife who takes care most of the time
Nice.
with our baby.
MVP
And
wife.
yeah, definitely. She's very supportive. So shout outs to her. And I think the Southeast Asia qualifiers didn't really took much of my time. I mean, the same. It's almost the same preparation. I can prepare for the Grandmaster and for that at the same time. So, and I'm pretty used to time. I'm pretty good at at managing my time. So, I mean, I used to work in a very strict company. So.
Okay. I was gonna say, I need lessons on that. Something I'm definitely bad at is time management for myself. But no, we will let you go, Staz. But again, congratulations, off to a great start this season.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, crazy. New kid, tournaments outside of GM, still getting wins.
Still dominating it.
I mean, apart from the slight, didn't know Zephyrus was going to give me Sacrificial Pact, which he won't make that mistake again.
I'm glad we put him on blast for that. He'll thank us for that later.
Yeah, 100%, because, you know, if you don't know, you don't know, and, you know, you can make assumptions of that for whatever you want, but I'm pretty sure he will know now, and you never, the trick is don't make the same mistake twice, and that's how you really progress in things. But let's check out the standings for the day as we are edging towards the end now. It's Chansu still looking all right up there, but Rivius at a 4-2 score, Shaxi at 4-2. Look at the top of that division, Derek, it's insane.
I didn't even quite realize until seeing it out that Blood Trail has gone down to the worst record so far now. Out of, I think, like anyone Grandmasters. Fino, of course, with Europe coming after this, could match him for that record, potentially going even lower. But Blood Trail, man, he's got to sharpen up his play, in my opinion. I think this is not even necessarily a fact of him getting the rough end of the deal in terms of RNG. I think he's had several opportunities where he could improve his odds at taking the win and hasn't taken them.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of times, a lot of instances in Hearthstone that due to a relatively small sample size, you can just get unlucky, right? You can just have a bad few days and then you look really bad. Your score sucks, right? We've all been there. But honestly, if you ask me to pick someone who should be at the bottom of the group based on what I've seen, Blood Trail should be there. His plays looked, you know, kind of uninspired. His submissions are okay, but that's it. And yeah, it feels like he's making some maybe matchup knowledge mistakes, which I think is should be the basics, right? The bread and butter of a good player is you should know how to win matchups. If you don't end up winning in the game because of other factors, well, that's another story, but you should just know the overall plan. Just a quick look at Division B before we babble on for too long. Glory looking good. Kind of snatched victory from nowhere today, but you know what? That's another point on the board, so he's looking great. Tom's still looking pretty decent. Staz again, third place, 4-2. That is a score, even with 2 losses, you can be proud of going into week 3.
Yeah, I think Tom and Staz getting up there at the top of putting a good feel for Division B here, because it feels like Division A is a lot closer, at least towards the middle. Division B, it's getting the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer, with Blitzchung and Patra both taking another loss this week, or Blitzchung, sorry, getting his first victory up to 1-4, maybe starting to turn things around, but still, Glory getting further and further away. We're starting to see a good feel of who is likely to get through to the finals.
Yeah, and just a very quick preview is Blitzchung is playing Alatimu tomorrow, and Patra is playing Tom. Ooh. So again, Tom played Blitzchung
as the
yesterday?
last place last week.
And then Tom is playing Patra tomorrow as well. So you know they could really shake up these scores and bring this group closer together. But let's take a look at that schedule for tomorrow. Instead of me just reading things out to you, we can just see it with our eyes, which is a lot nicer.
Oh, is that your point?
Yeah, sorry. You can talk now.
I'll carry
your
on.
turn.
Right, here we go. Samuel Zhao versus Chonsu to kick things off. Samuel Zhao right there in the middle of the pack, which I think is about where I would expect to see Samuel Zhao.
Okay.
So far, he's been playing reasonably well. I think the main thing I want to see from him is a little bit more flexibility with the decks he's bringing. It's been a bit too predictable, in my humble opinion, and so I want to see slightly different styles of play from him there to get things working in his favor. Tyler versus Flurry, Dawn and Frosty, Ali, Timu, Blitzchung, and then Tom and Patra, as you said, right up at the top for Tom, and and down at the bottom for Patra. Maybe we can see for Division B things starting to get a little bit closer there.
Yeah, especially considering Blitzchung beat Tom, which stopped Tom's flawless victory record so far and made the groups a little bit closer. If Patra beats Tom, then that's going to squish everything down even more outside of Glory sitting pretty on the top of that division. So again, another wild day, another fairly quick day, only down to just the speed in some of these pre-games and some of the others as well. It's kind of and no warrior mirrors, which is sign me up for. But thanks a lot for watching today. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow, and enjoy any Europe or America's Grandmasters that's going to be following on from us as per usual. But from Derek and myself, have a good day.